Afternoon, guys. I'm here to show you. I've got a huge amount of stuff to show you here, as you can see. The point of it all really is what's called the S.T.R.A.I.T survival system, and what that is it's an acronym basically. You've got steel water bottle, T for tarp, R for rope, A for axe, I for insulation, T for tinderbox, and those are the 6 items that you need to survive. So it's about, first of all, showing you the sort of preferred carry items. Then what we're going to do is go on and talk about a few alternatives of those things, perhaps in a bit later on, and then we're going to go and talk about how you can sort of change that kit into something much smaller that you can sort of always keep those items on you when you're sort of on day hikes, that kind of thing, to make sure you're always safe. You've always got those options that you can use. So first of all, the S stands for S in S.T.R.A.I.T, that is, stands for steel water bottle. Excuse my feet because I haven't got a tripod at the moment, but I'll just undo that for you. What we've got is wide mouth steel water bottle, no coating on the inside at all. This one particular one's made by Stanley, so you've got a sort of unscrewable lid there which has got a drinking spout, lanyard, and it's got the cap held on there, O-ring inside to stop the water from escaping. The reason that we've got this basically is, firstly, stainless steel has a melting temperature of around about 1400 degrees, which is perfect. This is 18.8 or 1810 stainless steel. The reason that we need that, and we can't use aluminium, which has a melting temperature around about 650 degrees, is because we're going to be using this on a campfire. So this is going to be your cooking pot. If you want to cook food, make it more digestible. If you want to sterilise water, if you're not sure about the source of it, so you can sieve that through clothing or something to take out the other bits. You can sieve it through by digging a hole in the ground or something like that to take the toxins out of it. Make sure it goes in there. Boil it up by standing it in a fire like that. It's got lips around the edge like that, so you can sort of put a stick under it and lift it. That's what you're looking for when you buy a water bottle, really, I suppose. This particular one, about 240 grams or thereabouts in weight, about 8.5 ounces. That's a very important part of your kit, basically, because you're able to feed yourself, you're able to sterilise your water, you're able to carry your water, so you're mobile as well. So that's the S part of it. Moving on, we've got T for tarp. This particular one is an integral design sill poncho. It's not important that it has to be this particular kind of tarp. I mean, these are ridiculously expensive. Siliconized nylon things are about 60 or 70 pounds. You don't need to spend more than about 15 or 20 on something like this, but a lot of people would argue that within a sort of survival outfit like this, this would be one of the less essential items of kit. I would say it is not essential. It's one of the least, or possibly the least essential item, but still very, very handy. Folds out into an 8x10 square with a hood in the middle. The hood sort of cinches closed, so you can use it as a tarpaulin over the top. You can use it as a ground sheet underneath you. You can use it as water storage, because we're using this sort of multi-use items. So we've got that's your water carry, and it's your water purification and cooking equipment all in one. So we've got that. So what we can do is sort of cinch the hood up like that, bring the ends together and use it to actually store water in if we need to, or collect rainwater as well. And like I say, it keeps your wind off you, keeps the rain off you. You can act as a storm shelter if you're out in the mountains or something like that and the storm closes in. Put that poncho on, sit down, pull it round yourself and things, and suddenly you take all of the wind and things out of all the cold out of the wind. So that's a very, very useful item. So that's S, T. Next one is R, which is rope. What we've got here is a couple of different, or 3 options I suppose really in total. We've got 2 different thicknesses of parachute cord. We've got 3mm there and I think 7mm by the looks of it there. And we've also got some jute or sisal twine, that's 3-ply. So this obviously is much stronger. It's made out of plastics, man-made stuff. This is a natural twine. They're both useful, and I say you could carry all of those. You could also, Dave Canterbury talks about in his videos about bank line and things like that. Bank line's difficult to get in the UK. That's sort of a tarred, I think it's tarred cotton stuff that you can get. Good for things like sewing, which neither of these would be. Personally, I'd carry something like button thread for something like that, or for fishing line, or not this particular stuff, paracord, I don't find particularly good for example for making animal snares. So you could carry something thinner for that, or thinner and stronger, or even a wire or something like that instead, which would be better for that. Incredibly versatile, building shelters with this, even suspending that over a fire, carrying that as well, making a sling for it so you don't have to carry it in a pack. Just endless uses really, this stuff. Very difficult to recreate in the wild as well, unless you're very skilled. That's the idea of all of these items basically. It's something that you're going to find extremely difficult to recreate is the bottom line. So you're going for the man-made alternatives, I suppose, really, to things that it would be very hard to recreate. I mean, speaking of hard to recreate, the next one, A, stands for axe. Now, if I was just backpacking, what I would do normally, obviously, I would just carry something like, there's some over there which I'll show you in a bit, but knife and a portable saw, a folding saw. If you can't have two items and you can only have one, go for an axe. The reason for that really is because there's basically because you need to be able to cut things which are quite large, and you need to be able to do small detail work. The bottom line is, if you can only have one item, the only thing that will do that is an axe. This particular one is a Wetterling's hunter's axe. I think it's about 2 foot long or thereabouts. It's about 45 quid. So they're not incredibly cheap by any stretch of the imagination. They're actually quite expensive items. There are cheaper ones and things. Obviously, I'll sort of show you those in a little while. We've got obviously some other cooking equipment and other bits up there as well. It comes with a little guard thing, which is quite an important thing to have with these kind of things. It's kind of a Swedish tradition, really. I suppose they're using these. It's quite a Norse tradition, using sort of an axe as an outdoor thing, not something that we do so much of in the UK. But incredibly useful. I mean, these are useful basically, it ties the entire kit together, so you're cutting your cordage with it, you're using it to create the staves, to create the tent stakes for making a shelter out of this. You can create trekking poles and things you can make by chopping little sticks with that. You're creating the fuel and you're creating the framework for your fire and just out of that, using that as well. So it ties everything together. So that's S.T.R.A. and I stands for insulation. So insulation is, in this case, we've got a wool blanket, and it's quite important that it is just a wool blanket. It's we've got the USGI poncho liner here as well. Very different items in a way. I suppose really you could say that's winter and that's sort of summer really. It's not really suitable for anything else, particularly it'll take you down to about 10 degrees. I would hesitate before going any lower than that really. Both of them are similar size. I'm about 6 foot tall, so I would go for something that's probably about a foot longer than me, so about 7 feet long by about 5 foot wide. So that means that I can fold it underneath me when I'm lying inside it on the ground. I'd try and put things underneath me as well, so that would be like scrunched up newspaper, or I try and put obviously in a wilderness situation you'd be putting things like sort of bracken, preferably tree boughs, like I don't know if you can actually see down the bottom of the garden we've got some evergreen trees up there, so something like that you could use sort of as insulation underneath you to try and keep the drafts out. So you fold that under you and over you as well, remembering that sort of one layer of insulation on the ground is worth two above the top of you, and most of your heat's lost into the ground, so very important. Wool is very good for this kind of thing because obviously in this case we've got Polish military blanket, about 10 or 15 pounds. It's very thick, so almost boiled wool kind of consistency, very little give in it. Very good item basically, and something that obviously is multi-purpose, because not only can you sleep under this, but you can, if you wrap it around your waist, sort of turn it sideways, wrap it around your waist and leave a section to pull over the top of your head so that it comes around your shoulders. You can walk around in it if you tie that around with a piece of your bank line or cordage or anything like that. So you've got a coat. You've got potentially something that you can use as a shelter. You've got something that you can use to filter water through if you absolutely have to, although they don't insulate as well when they're wet, they do still insulate. And also it's your bed, apart from anything else. So multifunctional item, and that's the I component, which is insulation. So we've got S for steel bottle, T for tarp, R for rope, A for axe, I for insulation, and the final thing on there is Tinderbox. So for Tinderbox, my preferred carry is this, which is like a little fire flash. I think can't really see that, sorry about the focus on this camera. There is so it's been left in the fire there, so you've got a bit of rubbish on the outside of it there, a bit of melted bits around there. They say they can use these about 3,000 times. This one, by the looks of it, has been used 3,000 times, I would guess. This is my one, it's about 10 years old. It's exceptionally useful. It's not multifunctional, but the fire that it creates very much is. It cooks your food, it purifies your water, it basically you cannot do without it in a wilderness situation at all, any kind of survival situation really. What I've got to show you as well, just very briefly, is not to go into any detail with this, but is the more sort of traditional end of that, because T stands for Tinderbox. What we've got here is a traditional Tinderbox, an old cigarette 2-ounce cigarette tin. Jute twine, usable as tinder, so got tissue, also usable as tinder. Tampons, exceptionally useful items to carry around in these things, because they're individually wrapped bits of tinder effectively. So you sort of take that off there, sort of fluff them out as much as you can, strike a spark into that, and just goes kapoof, basically straight up. We've also got the traditional flint there, fairly well used as well, and sort of some flint blades that are in there. And basically what you do obviously is just hold that like that in your hand and strike that down, and what you're doing there is shaving little sparks of off there onto your onto the char. I've got some char cloth in here as well, which I made, which is just cotton that's been cooked in a vacuum effectively, or in a no oxygen environment, and that just turns into very, very thin, flimsy, lightweight stuff that catches a spark very quickly. We've also got little pieces of tinder fungus kicking around in here as well. Now that's used in the same way as the char cloth, and we've got a cigarette lighter just as backup, which is, I mean, to be honest, my preferred way of lighting fire. It's just the easiest way of doing it most of the time, but not as reliable as the other ways. So that, if you were just carrying that on its own, you could just strike that against the blade of your axe, or if you're carrying a knife, obviously you just do the same thing with those. And then that creates a spark. That's made out of just a substance called ferrocerium, which is a metallic substance that once you sort of scrape something, and it doesn't have to be, it can be flint, it can be steel, it can be a piece of shell even. You just scrape that against it and it'll take a chunk of it off, makes a spark. The flint and steel method, which is sometimes confused with the ferrocerium rod, is actually different. So what you're doing when you strike that is you're shaving a piece of the steel off. When you strike that, you're actually shaving, not using the steel to shave ferrocerium off. Okay, so in essence, that's it really. We've got your steel water bottle. That's for S in the S.T.R.A.I.T system. That's cooking your food, it's purifying water, it's storing your water. You can even store food in there as well and keep it sealed. And you've got your TARP. That TARP is also usable as a poncho, it's a raincoat, it's your shelter at night. You can use it to store and carry water if you really have to as well. Rope, you can use that as tinder. This particular one here, the sisal, you can use the rope as sort of a climbing rope. You can braid up the paracord and use it as a climbing rope, a static rope. You can set your shelter up using it, suspend pots over the fire. You can mend clothing and things, also you've got your axe there. That's your sort of multi-purpose cutting tool, and that's, as I say, ties the whole kit together and is usable for lots of different things. You've got your insulation layers, usable as a match coat, which is what we discussed, where we sort of tie it around the waist, pull over your head, that kind of thing. And the US poncho liner, or poncho liner down there, which is about 1/3 of the weight of the wool blanket, which is the reason why I'd carry that in the summer. Those are usable, like I say, as a coat, or as your bed, or as a shelter in the case of an emergency. If you don't have the poncho, as I say, some people would say that that's a sort of superfluous item, but I say keeping warm and keeping the wind off you is actually very, very important, so I would include that in the kit. And then we've got the Tinderbox items down the end as well, which obviously is what creates the fire, and that in a way ties everything together, because it's about keeping warm, keeping dry, keeping hydrated, keeping yourself fed, and making sure you've got all of these multi-purpose items that you can use. So what I'm going to do is just have a word about these other items over here in subsequent videos, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers guys, bye.